Welcome to Nightfall Narrative, where we explore the most unforgettable stories. If you love tales of drama and satisfying revenge, you're in the right place. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single story. My family told me I wouldn't fit the vibe for their New Year's party. So I spent over $5,000 to throw a better one right next door. This is the story of how I ruined their night. It all started, as most modern tragedies do, with a text message. It was a week before New Year's Eve, and I was doing something deeply unglamorous. I think I was trying to figure out corporate tax withholdings or something equally soul-crushing when my phone buzzed. It was from my Aunt Carol, the self-appointed social director of our entire extended family. It wasn't a group chat, but a direct message, which is never a good sign. It read, and I am quoting here word for word, "Hi, quick heads up about NYE. We've decided to go with a more intimate, quiet vibe this year, just the core family. We know you're so busy with work and everything, so don't feel obligated to come. It's probably for the best. We'll catch you at the next one." So let's break this down. A more intimate, quiet vibe. My family's parties have never been intimate or quiet. They're loud, chaotic potlucks fueled by cheap wine and decades-old arguments that always resurface around 10:30 p.m. Just the core family. Last I checked, I am core family. I'm a direct blood relative. I have the family nose and a hereditary fear of public speaking to prove it. We know you're so busy with work. This is their classic passive-aggressive dig. In my family, having a demanding career isn't ambitious. It's a character flaw, a sign you think you're better than everyone else. But the kicker, the part that sent a jolt of pure rage through my veins, was it's probably for the best. I was being uninvited from my own family's New Year's celebration, a tradition that had been going on my entire life. Not because of a fight or some huge mistake, but because my vibe wasn't right. The vibe, I assumed, of someone who dared to build a life for themselves outside the tiny little box my family had in mind. I just sat there, staring at my phone. The shock quickly turned into that familiar, stinging hurt. This wasn't the first time I'd been subtly pushed aside. There were the constant comments about me being too serious, the backhanded compliments about my city apartment being nice for a single person, and the way their eyes would glaze over when I talked about my work. I was the family's resident weirdo, the one who traded a picket fence for a portfolio, and they never let me forget it. But this was different. This wasn't a subtle jab. This was a formal eviction on a major holiday. The hurt simmered for about 10 minutes, and then something else bubbled up. It was cold, clear, and beautifully petty. I looked at the text again. "A quiet vibe," it said, and in that moment I thought, okay, let's see how quiet your night is when I'm having the party of the century right next door. Now, to really get why this was so gloriously petty, you need to know a bit more about my family. We are, for the most part, a clan of homebodies. Life revolves around the same few suburban streets. My Aunt Carol and Uncle Gene live in the house my grandparents built, which is the unofficial family headquarters. The house next door to them, that belongs to my other aunt and uncle. The New Year's party is always at Aunt Carol's. It's the law. I, on the other hand, had committed the cardinal sin of moving away. Not far, just 45 minutes into the city, but in their eyes, I might as well have moved to Mars. My life was a foreign country to them. They didn't understand my job in marketing, they didn't understand why I bought takeout, and they certainly didn't understand why I wasn't married with 2.5 kids at 28. This feeling of being an outsider wasn't new. It was a dull ache I'd just gotten used to. I was the one who had to explain what brand strategy was every Christmas, only to be met with blank stares before the conversation changed. I was the one teased for being too dressed up when I wore a blazer to a barbecue. For years, I had learned to live two lives: my city life with my friends and my career, and my family life, where I played the role of the odd, single cousin who was too busy for a real life. But being uninvited from New Year's crossed a line. It felt like they were deliberately cutting me out of the family portrait, confirming what I'd long suspected. I wasn't just different, I was inconvenient. I sat in my apartment, looking out at the city lights, and I felt this profound sense of loneliness. For a moment. Then that loneliness curdled into anger. Fine, they wanted me out. They thought I didn't belong. I would show them what they were missing. I wasn't just going to have a party. I was going to create a whole separate universe of fun, a universe so bright and loud it would cast their sad little get-together in a permanent shadow. This was psychological warfare, fought with champagne and a killer playlist. My whole plan boiled down to two things: proximity and superiority. I wouldn't just have a better party, I'd have it so close they could hear every second of the fun they were missing. The most crucial piece of the puzzle was the location. My plan wouldn't work if I just threw a party at my apartment 45 minutes away. The revenge had to be right in their face. That's when the perfect, most audacious idea hit me. The house directly next door to Aunt Carol's belonged to the Hendersons, a lovely retired couple who spent the winter in Florida. They were snowbirds, and it was December. My heart started pounding. Could I had their number from the time I had to forward their mail. My hands were shaking as I scrolled through my contacts. This was the point of no return. I took a deep breath and hit dial. "Hello," Mrs. Henderson's voice was warm and tinny. "Mrs. Henderson, hi, it's my name, from next door to Carol and Jean. Hope I'm not bothering you." "Not at all, dear. How are you? Is everything all right back home?" I gave her a carefully crafted version of the story. I didn't say, "My aunt is a petty tyrant." Instead, I explained that due to last-minute changes in family plans, I needed a place for a small New Year's get-together. I mentioned my apartment was too small. Then I went for it. "This is a huge, insane long shot, I know," I said, my voice dripping with sweetness. "But I know you're in Florida, and I was wondering if you would ever consider renting your house to me for just one night. New Year's Eve. I would, of course, pay you handsomely, and I'd hire professional cleaners to come in the next day. It would be like we were never there." There was a long pause. I held my breath. I could hear her talking to her husband in the background. My entire grand, petty masterpiece hinged on this one moment. "Well," she said finally, "we've never done anything like that before, but you've always been such a sweet kid, and Carol can be a handful." She chuckled, and I knew I had her. We negotiated a generous price. I hung up the phone, a slow, triumphant smile spreading across my face. I had secured the battlefield. Now for the weapons. Aunt Carol's parties had lukewarm meatballs and a 70s soft rock playlist. I needed a spectacle, a theme. I was scrolling online when I found it, a Roaring Twenties speakeasy-themed murder mystery party called Murder at the Juice Joint. It was perfect. Guests would get characters, flappers, gangsters, bootleggers. The theme was all about glamour, secrets, and betrayal. How fitting is that? This was getting too big to handle alone. I'm a marketer, not an event planner. I needed pros. I spent the next 24 hours in a frenzy, hiring a local event planning service. I told the planner, Chloe, my concept. I want it to be over the top, I said. I want the people next door to regret every decision they've ever made. She just grinned and said, I love your energy. Together, we mapped out the assault. First, the guest list, a surgical strike. My younger cousins, Mark and Sarah, who always complained about how boring family parties were. Easy recruits. My cool Aunt Sharon and her husband, who I knew felt stifled by Aunt Carol's iron-fisted rule. Key family friends and neighbors, the Bowmans and the Garcias. This wasn't just adding to my numbers, it was guest poaching. And of course, my own friends. A vibrant, loud group that would bring the exact energy my family claimed to be avoiding. The invitations looked like a secret summons to a speakeasy. The password is Gatsby, they read. Inside was a sealed envelope with their character for the murder mystery. I made sure to give myself the role of the club owner, a blacklisted bootlegger who built their own empire after being cast out by the establishment. The pettiness was exquisite. Next, atmosphere. We transformed the Hendersons' cozy home into a 1920s juice joint with rented velvet couches, Art Deco backdrops, and feather boas for everyone. We hired a mixologist for a custom cocktail menu with names like the Betrayal Spritz, Sour Grapes Negroni, and Vindication Vodka Soda. Instead of a potluck, a high-end caterer served oysters Rockefeller, shrimp cocktail, and mini beef Wellingtons. And finally, the sound. This was critical. I hired a DJ who specialized in electro swing, a genre with a thumping bass line that's impossible to ignore. We placed speakers near the windows facing Aunt Carol's house. It was a sonic invasion. In 5 days, I had a plan. I'd spent more money than I care to admit, but every dollar felt like an investment. The stage was set. The RSVPs were flooding in, many with gleeful messages. My cousin Sarah texted, "You are a legend. Aunt Carol is going to have a meltdown." It was all happening in less than 48 hours. The plan was in motion. And before I tell you exactly how it all went down, if you're enjoying this story of high-stakes family drama, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button to join us here at Nightfall Narrative for more. Okay, let's get back to the party. New Year's Eve arrived, cold and clear, perfect weather for a little psychological torment. By 6 p.m., the Henderson house was unrecognizable. The air smelled of lilies and potential bad decisions. The DJ's sound check made the windows vibrate. I looked across the lawn at Aunt Carol's. Cars were arriving. It all looked so normal. They had no idea. My guests started showing up at 7:30, and the effect was instantaneous. Everyone's eyes went wide. People had gone all out with their costumes. I was in a black sequin dress, holding a long cigarette holder, feeling powerful. By 8:30, the party was in full swing. The electro swing was pulsing, cocktails were flowing, and laughter echoed through the house. The murder mystery had started, and people were passionately interrogating each other. That's when the first text came from my cousin Mark at Aunt Carol's. "Dude, we can hear your music from in here. What is going on?" I replied with a photo of the packed dance floor, the party you were meant to be at. A few minutes later, "Sarah and I are coming over. This is painfully boring." At 8:47 on the dot, the first defectors arrived. Mark and Sarah slipped in through the back, their eyes wide. "Oh my God," Sarah whispered. "This is insane. Aunt Carol's party is literally just everyone sitting on the couches watching the news." They grabbed feather boas and disappeared into the crowd. They were just the first wave. Around 9:15, I saw my Aunt Sharon and Uncle Mike's car. They walked up to Aunt Carol's front door, hesitated, and then I saw Sharon look toward my party. A second later, my phone buzzed. Change of plans. Can we crash your party instead? The vibe over here is deceased. I met them at the door. Password, I grinned. Gatsby, Aunt Sharon said, pulling me into a hug. You absolute menace, I love it. The real moment of victory came around 10 p.m. I was standing near the large bay window that looked directly into Aunt Carol's living room. In a quiet moment between songs, I saw her, a silhouette in their window. It was Aunt Carol, her face a mask of pure fury. She was staring at my party, at the guests she'd expected at her own event. She turned and gesticulated wildly towards our house. That look on her face was worth every single penny. I raised my Vindication vodka soda in a silent toast. She saw me. She recoiled from the window as if she'd been burned. I had won. The rest of the night was a blur of triumph. More people trickled over, drawn by the gravitational pull of actual fun. As the clock neared midnight, we put the ball drop on a big TV and unveiled a champagne tower. I stood on a chair, surrounded by friends and my gleeful cousins. 10:08. I looked out the window one last time. The lights were on at Aunt Carol's, but it was quiet. 3-2-1 Happy New Year. A roar went through the room. Corks popped, people cheered, and the DJ blasted the first song of the new year. We weren't just celebrating a new year, we were celebrating a successful rebellion. The next morning, I woke up on an air mattress smelling stale champagne. The house was a glorious wreck. The professional cleaners were on their way. I made some coffee, sat on the front steps, and then made the fateful decision to look at my phone. It was a war zone. 17 missed calls from Aunt Carol. 9 missed calls from my mother. A string of 32 unread texts. I opened Aunt Carol's first. They were a masterclass in escalating rage. 11:03 p.m. I hope you're happy. You've ruined New Year's. 11:15 p.m. and you stole my guests. Sharon and Mike left. You did this on purpose. 12:01 a.m. Happy New Year. I see what you are. A selfish, spiteful person. Then there was the voicemail from my mother, her voice trembling with that special motherly blend of disappointment and fury. I don't know what you were thinking, it began. To do this right next door, to embarrass your family. Your Aunt Carol is devastated. You deliberately tried to hurt us and you succeeded. I am just so disappointed in you. I should have felt guilty. A tiny part of me did, but it was quickly overwhelmed by a tidal wave of satisfaction. Were they devastated? Good. Embarrassed? Perfect. The point was not to go unnoticed. It had worked. My cousin Mark texted me a full battle report. Morning, General. After we left, 3 other families also went for a walk and ended up at your party. By 11 p.m., it was basically just Aunt Carol, Uncle Gene, and 2 of their oldest friends left, complaining about the noise. At one point, Uncle Gene tried to come over and tell you to turn it down, but Aunt Carol wouldn't let him because it would look like admitting defeat. It was the most awkward, silent New Year's countdown I have ever seen. 10:10 would recommend your rebellion again. I spent the next hour scrolling social media. The night was documented with our custom hashtag, #NotCarolsNYE. There were pictures of the champagne tower, videos of people dancing, and a group shot of all the defectors raising a middle finger toward the house next door. My friend Megan posted a picture of the cocktail menu with the caption, having a betrayal spritz in honor of petty revenge everywhere. Smiling face with horns. The cleaners arrived and, like magic, erased all evidence of the chaos. By 4 p.m., the house was spotless. I locked the door behind me and drove back to my city apartment, the silence of my car a stark contrast to the beautiful noise of the night before. A few days later, a family-wide email went out from my mother about a birthday dinner. At the bottom was a pointed sentence: "We hope everyone can make it so we can start this year off with unity and forgiveness." It was a white flag, wrapped in their typical passive-aggressive packaging. I never got a direct apology, but I didn't expect one. The point was never to fix my family or get them to understand my life choices. For years, I had let them make me feel small, like an outsider. I absorbed their digs and judgments because I thought that was the price of admission. Being uninvited was the moment I realized the price was too high. My revenge party wasn't really about them. It was about me. It was about taking a situation where I was made to feel powerless and reclaiming that power in the most spectacular way I could. It was about proving to myself that I could create my own joy, my own traditions, and my own vibe. Was it an expensive, over-the-top way to handle being snubbed? Absolutely. Did it probably cause some long-term fractures in my family? Maybe, but those fractures were already there. I just lit them up with party lights. Was it worth it? Every single cent. The memory of my Aunt Carol's face in that window, a portrait of pure, impotent rage, will keep me warm for years. I didn't get an apology, but I got something better: vindication. And I got to throw the party of a lifetime. So I have to ask you, was I the jerk? Was I too petty, or did my family get exactly what they deserved? Let me know your thoughts in the comments. And if you enjoyed this story, prove you appreciate a good revenge plot by hitting that like button and subscribing to Nightfall Narrative for more. Until next time.